Before I ask for an approval of the agenda,
Roll call.
yes, that's right. Can we have a roll call, please?
All right, Franklin, Gassinger,
Here.
Gilbert, King,
Yeah.
Hall, and Went.
And want to welcome JJ back. He had to take a hiatus from our commission because of work requirements, but those changed, and so we haven't done it. And that's a good thing.
Back, yeah, now we give you a hard time. I didn't give you a hard time as a visitor.
There's a couple things that I'd like to,
Previous.
well, I'd like to add some things to the agenda.
Oh, okay, but you should do a motion.
All right, okay, all right. Then I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda before we change the agenda.
Drinking the wine.
Is there such a motion?
I move we approve the agenda.
All right, thank you, Norton. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by JJ. There's a couple of things that I'd like to add. First of all, under old business, I just wrote a report. We had a discussion last time about contacting the city council members about whether or not we could, as commission members, we could visit their ward meetings and sort of make our presence known. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of follow-up to that. Under new business, I think, JJ, did you want to bring up something there? I mean, I have a couple of items that,
Yeah, I want to bring up a point about, just to put it on the record, not have a super in-depth discussion of homelessness numbers, rising in the count.
and I think, and perhaps something about trans fat fees that we might.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. As well as train that fees.
In particular, but not exclusively for nursing home residents.
Nursing home and disabled residents.
Thank you. And then finally, as a number 2, if it's possible, just to make some announcements about events that are coming up in the next month. Okay? And you make that easier over you. Welcome, Nadine.
Hi,
How are you?
thank you. I'm okay.
Oh, good.
I'm sorry I'm late.
That's
So
okay.
do you.
Thank you.
First item, public participation, would you? Oh,
Well, we need to approve the agenda.
All right, now we can approve, now we can vote to approve the agenda.
So
Is there such a motion? So moved by JJ, is there a second?
no, it's already been, oh, well,
Well, with the emendations.
subject, yeah, with the additions.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying
Can we
aye.
get a second?
I thought Norton did, JJ made a motion.
Okay.
I second, that's what I took it as. All those in favor?
I,
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, public participation. Minutes? All right, sorry, for some reason.
You're still in France.
No, the glasses it's the skipping over the top, the very top of the page. I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting, so moved by Norton. Are there any changes,
Second.
corrections?
We can second.
Is there a second?
I said,
All right. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, thank you very much. Now we can move on to public participation. Thank you, Tricia.
I'm sorry, I have a question, and that is if my comment is more about the future considerations for HRC, should I go now or should I go then?
That would be best, well, it would probably be best to go then. I mean, it would be more relevant to that discussion, but, because it's here.
Okay.
How can I put this? If there's someplace you really want to be at 6:45 and you want permission to speak early, that's all right as well.
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay.
I'll wait then.
Okay, thank you for your patience then.
I
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Ms. Fazekas just wanted to make sure she would have the opportunity to speak at that time.
Sure.
A couple of concerns here, and I do have a question about the last-minute change of the agenda because I received a notification that under new business it changed, and that notification didn't come until like noon today. So I'm not sure of the exact rules regarding the changing of the agenda without a 48-hour notice, because there was future considerations for the HRC on item F1 that previously F1 was future meetings of the HRC, and that's how it was listed on the original agenda. So this was amended today at noon. So I'm a little concerned regarding Open Meetings Act, whether that can be changed at the last minute. I'm uncertain. That is, if it's an action item, it may not be able to be. So just a concern on that. Regarding contacting committee members, I did have the opportunity to send some emails which I did not get responses from, but then again, I don't know if I have everybody's correct email addresses to direct concerns to. I didn't have yours, I apologize, but I had JJ's. I know I sent him an email. Joe, I sent you an email regarding the next issue I'll talk about. I'm not sure, Lisa, I know you don't like me sending emails to your NIU thing, so I'm respecting your wishes on that. But then I don't want to send it to your township because it really isn't township. So if you have an email designation for issues that have to do with this committee, if you can share an email that I can contact you at regarding issues that have to do with the HRC, because I don't think you have a designated email for that. So how would I contact you regarding issues for the HRC?
Let me think about that.
You get back to me, okay?
Yeah.
Regarding the issue that I sent the committee two members on, were the issue of the cameras, the LPR cameras that this committee had very detailed discussions on, including the adaptation of the LPR policy, which I had great concerns because I emailed you guys, I emailed the police chief, I emailed council members, and that LPR policy that was discussed in great detail months ago and supposedly put in place was never published until middle part of September. Now, the police chief has been utilizing the procedures in this LPR policy and the police department since we've gotten the cameras, but that LPR policy wasn't officially published, at least the approved policy, on the police department website until late September. That is an issue, and I kind of wish the committee members that I emailed would have gotten back to me regarding why there was a substantial delay. This committee did a great job in vetting that subject area, discussing it. The only problem is you didn't share it with the public. The public has a right to know, and the fact that this was delayed, for what reasons, I don't know. I haven't got an honest answer from the police chief. He just said it's up there now. And that was 20 days after the policy supposedly went into effect on September 1st. It wasn't published till the 20th. So I find that somewhat troublesome here. I will also discuss a future consideration of the HRC after Lynn's comments, so I reserve my rest of my comments for item F1.
Thank you, thank you.
I have a comment. Can I make a comment?
Please do.
So if you know, and you are the public, how do you know?
How do I know what? I don't understand your question.
You just said that the LPR cameras.
The policy. It wasn't published on the website. It was made available to this committee it wasn't in the official, it was still in, what do you call it? It wasn't official approved form. It was in, I'm trying to think of the word for it. It was in draft form that this committee had. The final policy was not published until September 20th. So I want to see what changes went into place. That from when the discussion took place from this committee to when it was published on the website. And the public has a right to know.
So you are the public. I'm asking you, how do you know?
That because I checked the website every week to see if it was up there.
Oh.
And it wasn't up there. And it actually had the official number of where it was supposed to be under police policies. I forget, it was like L5 or L6. And suddenly it magically appeared after 3 emails to the police chief, letters to this committee, he finally got it up there. I'm just a very big advocate of transparency. This committee spent a lot of time discussing that, and the public should be able to see that policy in its final version. So that's how I knew that it wasn't there. It was supposed to be there, so.
Well, I'm asking because clearly you represent the public and clearly you were able to see it. But what
The
you're
draft
saying-
version, correct, not the final version.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to see the final version that would be utilized by the police department, because until it's up there, it's not finalized.
We didn't see it.
Okay, thank you, Scott. We
The-
didn't receive that either, no.
The final version is up there. I guess his concern is that it wasn't up there fast enough.
Yes. And that, and at our last meeting, I think it was discussed that we were not asked to comment on or approve the final version. That went before the city council.
Yeah, I saw it.
No,
City council didn't approve it either. It was approved by the police chief after consultation, I believe, with this committee.
You
But
were given the opportunity to give input on the policy.
We were,
given the
that's
draft. The public was given the draft. That was another opportunity for the public to give their public input on the draft. Operational policies don't go
that
standard
was my
procedures.
understanding as well.
Every operational policy of the city doesn't go to the council for approval.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Fazekas?
Yes?
Oh, I do have a comment on this because I did notice in the June meeting minutes of your commission meeting that, the city manager had commented that the LPR policy doesn't have to go
That's right.
to council because it's operational.
I see.
Now, I wonder if that could be argued because there doesn't appear to be any prohibition to taking it to council for a full vetting. And the reason that I mention this is because, not just because I disagree that it should have gone to council, because I do think it should have gone to council, because of the high public interest at stake, and because I believe that it created a liability for the city of DeKalb, and the city council generally should be addressing it if it creates a liability for the city. And first, you have to agree that it does create a liability. I think so. The LPR cameras are, they're a potential weapon of mass surveillance is what they are. And because of that, they're drawing lawsuits on Fourth Amendment grounds a lot. And I see that potential here in the counties as well. So,
Oh, thank you. Frankly, I see that it's beyond our purview this evening, but it's gone ahead and it's gone ahead to the city council and it has been posted, although with a delay. And I'm not sure there's any action that this commission can actually take on it.
Have you sent that information to council? Or to the mayor? Or to the city manager?
No, I have not. And I wasn't going to comment on that tonight, except for it being brought up during public comment, so I thought, what the heck.
Okay.
It also kind of relates to something that I might talk about later on your new business.
And the fact that this committee was also formulating and consulting with the police chief on this, I thought would be the appropriate place to bring these sort of concerns forward, because more so than any other commission, this particular commission dealt with the LPR policy as opposed to the police commission and what have you. So you're the only committee that has discussed this, so.
I mean, as far as the council, the LPRs were not purchased without the council's knowledge. And so it's not like the police department bought the LPRs and say, look what we bought. The council knew what was being purchased. Again, we're going to an operational policy where there was a chance for the HRC and the public to give comment, not just at this commission meeting. Comments could also be made at the city council meeting. And if two members of the city council would like the LPR policy to be brought before them, they can bring that to the city manager. But, you know, there's multiple opportunities for public input on the policy.
Thanks for that clarification.
And I will say, the agenda, I talked to the city attorney, and he said we were fine to, there was, on the website, it has under agendas and meetings, it has a list of the meeting dates. If you clicked on the agenda, it had the agenda for August, then brought that to my attention. In minutes, we had to write one up. I contacted the city attorney, and he said that we were okay to proceed since the other posting requirements.
Thank you. Under progress report, if we go to old business now, under future consideration, no, I'm sorry, progress report on redevelopment in the ATM neighborhood. I don't know that we have necessarily have a report or an update on that, but I had a question on that, which is to say, with the incorporation of suburban estates and suburban apartments into the city property, when does that take effect?
There's a bunch of deadlines in the ordinance as far as when this needs to happen, when that needs to happen, when that needs to happen. So I don't know.
Okay.
Off the top of my head. I will say Bill had another engagement tonight, and he regrets not being able to be here, but he had an unexpected situation to come up. But
No, well, my question would just be, and perhaps this can come up at a later meeting, but that's a considerable number of folks. I don't know offhand how many, what the population is, but I wonder if there's any effort to sort of orient people to city services and opportunities that they might not know about because they weren't eligible for it before.
That's a good call.
I mean, I know we talked about library cards, and that privilege is there, that's been extended and so forth and so on. But whether it has to do with police services and the housing authority and all sorts of agencies in the community that might respond differently.
I could check with our community services manager.
Okay, thank you.
As the mayor was explaining last week, there are many groups that come together are much larger than the city, and I would imagine, I listen to Joanne's Zoom calls sometimes, and they're always thinking about things, so nonprofits is maybe on their radar, but I can ask her if it is.
One of the things that we talked about at length, and I'll just make a brief announcement about this, at our last meeting, was trying to make ourselves better known, and trying to, where is it that we go to next? We tackle this issue, these kinds of concerns, those kinds of concerns. And we talked about having, now, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's two ways that one could think to go on the basis of our last discussion. One has,
Are we moving on to E2?
are we moving on to E2? Yes, we are.
No.
Unless you have something you want to add about it.
No.
Okay.
Just to keep it clear.
Okay.
I'm sorry, so before you go. So suburban is now considered part of the
It will. be.
Annie North?
It will. be.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the agreement was somebody, the same firm that bought several of the large Hunter properties, was interested in buying suburban estates, both the apartments and the estates. So an annexation agreement was reached with DeKalb County, where there have been long-standing water problems there, so the city's going to upgrade the water system to the complex. DeKalb County is going to pay for that. Both DeKalb and DeKalb County, for a period of time, will take care of policing, but the agreement went before the council to put all that in action.
I have a question related to water, can I just ask? In some major cities, there have been problems with water, like Flint and Jackson. And I asked the township about that. Do we know about the water situation in DeKalb and how current? And this is the irony. I asked this question, I don't know, last month at the township, and where I live, the water main burst. Well, I don't know if it burst. Something was wrong with it Sunday and Monday. It's repaired now. So I'm wondering if we know about the water system in DeKalb as a town.
Yeah, we have a full water division, and they have to meet federal standards and state standards and send samples. If there's a water main break, they need to put a boil order into effect for a certain period of time. So, and there's an annual report that needs to get published, and it's put on the website annually. So, we have an entire water division that
The reclamation over.
No, the city runs its own water system. The Kishwaukee Water Reclamation District runs the sanitary sewer side of it.
Okay, well, maybe it didn't break, because they didn't tell us to boil, they just said, don't use it, don't drink it, and don't use it, where I live. So I'm just curious, I mean, I would imagine that other places have that too, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I
the
mean, Flint
federal,
has that, and Jackson has it, but they still have had some major dilemmas with their water.
Well, even Sycamore did.
Sycamore did too?
Yeah, for a while. You know that?
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
I'm not sure who I got this from, but we have in the past, as citizens receive a report. Yes. A water report.
I remember
I know it's
most of
published,
them.
because I publish it annually on the website. I can check about, in the past, there was one that was delivered.
Yeah, you
Yeah, I
come,
think we used to get it in the mail.
yeah.
Lisa, as you drive around town, like, I know you had problems over on 13th Street in particular a while back, but as you drive around town, you may have seen signs here and there in front of residences that say something about mitigation for getting lead out of pipes that are so many years old.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I did, you knew about my situation with the pipes, it was hell. I don't know another way to say it. But they put some signage up, so, good, yeah. And even on this commission, we talked about water some time ago,
Mhm.
some long time ago. I don't know if you remember that. When Dawn was here, we talked about the water. She was one of the former city attorneys.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, so I'm just curious. I mean, if the water may be fine and everything, or everything may be in order and they may be working on it, I would hate for the cow to be
Mhm.
a Flint. I would hate for the cow to be a Jackson. I mean, I hate that they are having that experience as well. But certainly, if we know that, and we can at least prepare for that or have some provision, and I don't imagine that I'm the only human about that, in terms of the water, so.
Yeah, the water department, independent to DeKalb, or works, not independent to DeKalb, works as part of the city
Yeah.
and follows the state and federal regulations.
So you said that's posted on the city?
Yeah,
I know, I remember getting, and others may remember as well, we already mentioned this, but every year or so, we would get reports saying, so many parts per million of this, so many parts per million.
And I think that's because the water wasn't so great, it wasn't up to code, it wasn't up to standard, but I haven't received that in a while. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that, I mean, you know,
I'll bring back more information from our water
okay.
director and about if the requirements change as far as whether it was better to mail it out or publish it to the website. I can bring back more information on that.
Now, to get back to this item, as far as, well, response from council members, I get email city council members, and I said, gee, you customarily have board meetings, at various times throughout the year. If and when you schedule these again, could you let me know when these are so I can let you, so at least one of us, I'm not suggesting we all will, but at least one of us can say, hi, I'm on the HRC and this is the kind of things that and if you have issues you want to raise, this is how you do it and so forth and so on. I did hear back from a couple of people, not everybody, who said that they would let me know when and if those, the next time those meetings occur. And I'll alert you when that happens.
Do all the aldermen have those?
I don't know.
And recently, I think they all went through.
Unfortunately, yes, I was just in the nick of late. So a lot of people had had those meetings just, before before it came up with this commission. So it'll come around again. Second thing though, as far as guidance from the rest of you, we talked about having meetings around the community in order to increase the visibility of the HRC, or in order to get more input from people in the city. Now, that can mean simply meeting in this neighborhood meeting in that neighborhood, meeting in that neighborhood, having our regular meeting and see who shows up. I'm not sure that's a great idea. What I would like to do, or at least I'd like us to think about doing, is perhaps in the off months, if we're going to meet every other month, to simply have listening sessions. To simply have an open forum where people, we can ask questions, people can respond to those questions, they can bring questions of their own, rather than just have people watch us go through this process, which I'm not averse to, but you know, if somebody told me, hey, the planning commission is going to meet across the street from you tonight, that doesn't make me want to run across the street, you know, because what am I going to do there other than be bored? But if we were going to have these, if we were going to try to go out in the neighborhoods to listen to people on issues of safety, on issues of discrimination, on whatever issues it is which they bring to us, one of the ways that I think we might do that, other than board meetings, are through, are through the nursing homes and through the schools. I don't think it would be a bad idea to contact the PTOs, and they don't have PTAs here in the county, we have PTOs, you know, which do much the same thing. And see whether this is something that they would be interested in taking part in. At Pine Acres, at Bethany, at the county home and so forth, they do have residence councils. You know, they do have, and I think this would be a way of trying to meet people on their own turf, on their own terms. But I'm curious what that sounds like to you. I mean, I can pursue that if you wish.
I think to add to that list,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
to add to that list,
Uh-huh.
we could add nonprofits as well.
Sure.
Reach out to that too. And I also just want to say, like, obviously, we couldn't have more than two of us there at the same time, or else it would be a meeting.
That's what I was going to bring up.
Yes.
Do we plan to just have one or two commissioners go to these
Well,
listening sessions?
I want to do this legally, and I want to do this above board, but these are not going to be, and I'll accept your guidance on this, but these are not going to be meetings where we take action.
Right.
These are going to be meetings where we sit and say, no kidding, I didn't know that, thank you.
So we couldn't all be there?
Well, that's what I'm not sure.
No.
Could we have two
Well, we could
people
with buildings.
officially there, and
Hmm?
we could have two people that are there officially?
If you have, yeah, if you have less than a, or it's,
A majority of a quorum.
yeah, you have to have less than a majority of the quorum. So-
In the room?
Yeah, if sitting there having a listening session where the public's telling you what they want to eat, that's public business, so yeah, if you had a quorum, you would need to, you had more than a majority of quorum, it would need to be, you could hold a meeting, or you'd have to have a quorum,
Two or less.
and,
I think for information gathering, I think for two or less, I think that, you know, I think to have one or two people go to Lincoln School, one or two people go to Tyler School, one or two people go to Jefferson School, or whatever that is, and simply report to the whole body, this is what people are talking about, this is what they're upset about, this is what they want to see happen.
I have a question. I'm wondering, how do we hear those voices of people that aren't connected to organized bodies? You know, like, you know, do we then go to churches? Do we volunteer our time to be available for churches, or whatever group may have some concerns, but we're not a part of the residence councils or the nonprofits, or access to the schools for whatever reason?
I don't have an answer to that, and I think you're right. I don't want to exclude people in that way, but I am looking for a place to start. I don't think that this would be necessarily, okay, we did that, we're done. You know, we don't listen to anybody else. You know,
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting that.
No, but
I would be happy to be proven wrong, but something tells me, maybe in nursing homes, we would attract an audience, but other than that, I don't think people are gonna go to school or church to talk to the HSP. As I said, I could be wrong, I may well be wrong.
well, you may well be right. Well, I'm not suggesting this. I'm not suggesting we say, we're going to sit here in this room and for 2 hours and see if anybody shows up on a Tuesday night at 6 o'clock and see what happens. What I'm suggesting is that one or two of us could go to a PTO meeting at this school or a residence hall meeting at this
Or an
facility,
existing
or whatever,
meeting.
and the last, say, can I have 5 minutes at the end of the meeting? Can I have 10 minutes at the end of the meeting? This is what we do. How you doing? How you doing?
Okay.
And if there is, if we're both surprised, and there is an interest, then we can come back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if it's already existing meeting.
That's what I mean. I mean, I think we have to utilize the means of communication that are already in place at the getting started.
No, I think that would work. Could work. It's worth a shot.
Would somebody want to formalize that by making a motion that?
I got a question before we go to that. So the council members, you said they don't have ward meetings?
No, I didn't say that. They do. I emailed them after our last discussion, and I only had a couple of people respond. And they said, gee, that's a great idea, but I just did that last night. Or I just did that last week. I'll let you know when we're going to do it again.
Yeah, it was bad luck. The idea came
Yeah,
up
yeah,
just as the
That's
council
right.
was finishing up a round of board meetings. I will say, since this item was added to the agenda at the start of the meeting, we should not be,
Okay.
we can come to a consensus, but we shouldn't be taking motions and action on something we added to the agenda at a later point.
Okay. Did you want to say something?
Well, I know we want to talk on this agenda item, because I assume we're on F1, correct?
We are right now.
Okay. I know,
Unless-
I think that's the item Ms. Fazekas wanted to speak on, and I wanted to speak on, but whenever you guys are ready for our comments.
Shall
Yeah,
we?
Before adjournment.
Whether we're done, are we done?
I don't know. If we can't make a formal proposal tonight, then.
I thought we were still on E2. That's why we need to say which item we
Yeah.
are now.
I thought we were on E2.
Okay, but I thought we just said we were on F1. We need to announce what
Yes.
item we are.
Okay.
So,
Well, I thought we were on,
Well, I was just
I
going
thought we
to,
were on F1.
one more comment on these board meetings. I'm curious how aldermen convey that they're having such a meeting. I will see in the Chronicle every once in a while a meeting, but I certainly haven't seen 7 of those in the last.
I haven't either.
in addition to a press release goes out, it's posted on the city's website, and it goes out on social media.
Well, this is me, and then probably this is most of the citizens
How would you,
of DeKalb.
what other way could we,
I don't know, but
Could we get a notice? You know how we get a notice for the HRC? Do they have a monthly calendar?
yeah, it's posted to the city's website calendar.
Okay, is it possible to send that to the people that are on the commission?
well, but
No,
I'm not looking to be informed if Ward 3 is having a meeting. I'm just curious how people in the ward find out. And notice is given, but I'm saying I don't think that's a very effective way of reaching most people in the
Oh,
city.
I don't know. I'm open to suggestions other
Well,
than,
Bill
Oh,
said-
mailing would be the other way, but that's expensive.
Well, Bill said that they had access, that they had enough to send postcards to everybody. He said that at one of our meetings. Bill Nicholas said that.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that it would be possible to send mailings to people in the various wards.
they can, but we pay postage.
Okay, Bill said it, I didn't say it.
Sure, I
I'm
mean-
assuming that,
And we have the ability, we have a database of addresses in the cities, and so, but I don't know, I mean, there would be, so if it would come down to if there's money in the budget to send, you know, a mailer out to every, you know, resident in the city. Yeah.
that pays taxes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's another thing is, well, I guess for an occupant, I don't know how the mailings work, but we have the ability, for example, when there's something coming up before the planning and zoning commission, people within a certain distance get a letter asking them if they have comments. So we have the ability, there's just a cost and to what effect.
Could it possibly go in water bills, like for people's water bills?
There is a community message portion, but, you know, now we get to, I mean, then you have coordination, you know, aldermen will have to say in advance their meeting to get the message on the bill, and does anybody read the,
Right.
you know, the bulletin board?
That also misses every renter,
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
which in this city is
It's
substantial.
substantial, yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay, we have public input on F1.
Well, I'm sorry, before we move forward, can we maybe suggest that there be some information that we'll receive to give us some idea about the options?
I mean, I can't think of any more, I mean, communications, getting people to turn out stuff is community engagement in government is a constant struggle.
Well, let me be specific. Can you ask Bill if we can send out mailers
Okay.
to residents, or people that live in?
So this is for ward meetings?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, we move on. Go ahead.
Well, well, no, this is
All right.
before we get public comment, can we sort of orient the commission on what we're talking about?
Future considerations for the HRC? Yeah, we certainly can.
I mean, the last meeting we talked about the frequency of meetings. Is that what all we're talking about?
Well, I thought we were talking about other concerns, issues, areas that we might pursue as a commission.
Well, do we know if this was taken to council and council decided that every other month was okay? I think Norton mentioned something about the ordinance.
Yeah, it was approved.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was?
Mm-hmm.
There's an ordinance change?
Yeah, approved by the city council, I believe. There's been a couple that have gone by, but I believe it went to the council.
Oh, I wish I could remember.
Well, you made a recommendation that it go to the city council.
Yeah. Okay, well,
And with the understanding that if there are pressing issues, we can certainly meet more often.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if something blows up or we want to try to prevent something from,
There was a unanimous vote that we recommend that we move to bi-monthly meetings last month.
all right.
Was it just that? Was it bi-monthly, or was it bi-monthly and if they feel the need to vote? Because Joe was saying if we feel the need to meet, we can.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, the mayor can call you into a special meeting, you can call a special meeting, yeah. The regular meetings, the regularly scheduled meetings are every other month, and at any time, if, you know, a majority of the commission tells Joe that they want to, individually, of course, and they want to address an issue, then a special meeting, Joe will tell me we need to have a special meeting to talk about X.
I want to make this comment, I didn't make it last time. The mayor and the city manager seemed to be a little touchy when I said that they were limiting access. And what I meant was if we go from meeting once a month to 6 times a month or quarterly, you certainly are limiting the times that you meet. You know, I guess we can argue, you know, T's and dots and I's and all of that. But if you go from 12 to 6, in my mind, that's less. Somebody said, I give you $12 or I give you $6. Can I give you $12? So that's what I meant by less. I don't think I clarified that.
I mean, my opinion, and I think it's reflected in the minutes, that I think that point was loud and clear.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was clear.
I mean, just
and not
comparing-
just for the sake of saying it, you know, it just was, you know, they seem kind of touchy. They were like, oh, I'm not saying less, Well, yeah, you are. You know, I said less.
The ordinance reads not less than every other month, so it can be more.
I think we go back to the original point, is me and Joe had several communications preparing for minutes where it's like, what are we doing? I mean, there's no, you know, that was the impetus of,
I got you.
I mean, that there was no.
Well, in your time, right? Because he mentioned that you were the social media person, so you have some added responsibilities as well. I'm good with it. I just wasn't clear. You know, maybe they should have said that in the beginning too.
I mean, I think the evidence for the discussion was that we had several meetings where we were struggling
Yeah.
to come up with agenda topics, and then for everybody's time consideration, not just mine, but for the commission's time consideration, do you hold regular meetings when you're struggling to come up with ideas to discuss, was the impetus for it.
I certainly don't want to have the responsibility as the great law, you know, to once a month decide what people are worried about, what hurts people, what we should turn our attention to and so forth. And so I would appreciate the opportunity to have some kind of listening sessions with the community so that if substantive issues are brought up, we can gather and say, well, so what are we going to do about this? Or what are we going to ask city council to do about this?
Yeah, I mean, the idea was, obviously, after the Black Lives Matter movement, there was a lot of pressing business, and special meetings could have been called in between monthly meetings, or, you know, the ad hoc seemed to make sense, because if there was, you know, something, you know, pressing, you call the commission into action immediately, you know, within 2 days, and begin holding meetings. But then we saw, you know, the commission saw your point about regular meetings also gives people a regular opportunity to address the commission.
Yeah, no, I understand. Billy.
Okay.
I'll say just a couple of pre-comments. If you want to get a hold of people to let them know about work meetings, listening sessions, anything like that, I would recommend Nextdoor, because that site you can target different neighborhoods, and there seem to be just so many people tuned into that. I don't know if it would work, but I think it's worth a shot.
I think that's an excellent idea. Thank you.
I'm not aware, she said next door.
Next door,
It's an app,
go on the site. It's pretty
it's
cool.
a social media.
Oh, okay, see, I had no idea.
It's a website, it's not a social media site. It is a website for your specific neighborhood, like I live in Fairview South, so everybody in Fairview South talks about garage sale, lost cats, there's a crime over here, you know, it's a great site.
But it's a great, but you can also ask, you know, I'm looking for some, does anybody know somebody that'll come along and rake my leaves, because I have a bad man? You know, I mean, you can find out about certain local services that they do.
I just have one question. How do people get on Nextdoor, and how do people find out about it? I mean, I live in the county.
Nextdoor.com. And you
Well, I'm not asking that, I'm asking how do people find out about it?
People know about it, that's a good question. I don't
People
know.
don't just know about it, I didn't know about it. I can call up some of my friends that live in DeKalb, but I know they don't know about it. I know they know about Facebook Marketplace, though. Yeah, so that's different. So I'm asking, how do people know? And I say that because I think we make a lot of assumptions that people are all in this mindset, you know, but we're not. So I think maybe we should make an announcement about using Nextdoor, or the councilmen council people, can make an announcement or something. I mean, I think there needs to be something to lead people to the source, if this is going to be an official source. Because if somebody new moves to the neighborhood, do they get a neighborhood pack that says, and we use Nextdoor?
I don't know, but that'd be a good idea, actually.
It is an app that I think, I believe it, I mean, it's.
It's an app and a website.
Yeah, I don't question what it
No,
is.
no, just, but I think like, and I'm not defending it or, you know, whatever. I think it's an app that you would find in, if you move to Naperville, if you move to this town, if you move to that town, there's an equivalent in all of these other, it's not unique to DeKalb. Although.
I've lived in DeKalb about 30 years, I said I never heard of it. So I'm
I
not
mean,
suggesting that it's.
Well, I have an idea, no, you're not alone.
Right, so I'm not
I
suggesting.
just did, so,
This
yeah.
is what I'm saying, Joe, I'm not suggesting that it's new. I'm asking, how do people know about it?
No, I get that.
And if it is accessible, we need to, and we're gonna use it, we certainly need to inform people. And we need not assume, because people know about it, that everybody knows about it. But not people, I don't know about it.
But it's kind of a catch-22, dog chasing its tail. So we were talking about how do we increase communications? Well, we put it on Nextdoor. How do we get people to know about Nextdoor? I mean, it's just one of the challenges of getting people engaged in government.
Or it's not a challenge, it becomes intentional. And we come up with a way to contact people that live and breathe and pay taxes in the community. So if I live in a property, their rental property, then my rental office needs to know about it. And say, hey, here's one of the
I guess,
things.
how are we going to do that?
How?
Yeah.
Well, it's not my job to figure that out for the city, I don't get paid for that.
Well, yeah.
But I would suggest that the people that work with the property owners, or the people that work in the communities, like the council people, that they make that an agenda item, and that they figure that out. Especially if we're going to use it. I just don't think that that's.
As somebody who works with communications, I know the options for communicating. It's a constant struggle. You can't just mention it at a council meeting. We can, through our other sites, through our other avenues, we can say we now also do announcements on Nextdoor, but as Norton said, is some people aren't getting all of the existing
I think
communication.
it's a word of mouth kind of thing that obviously misses a lot of people.
I believe that, but we can't put together a flyer and have somebody put it on the door. No, the door handle. I get all kinds of stuff in the mailbox.
Well, we can pay for mailings. and we can-
I get stuff I get coupons for food I don't eat. I
Yeah,
get
but
information.
somebody pays for the production of those flyers and the delivery.
Well, I'm saying let's do that.
Okay.
Because that seems like a guaranteed way. And I'm sure that my attitude and my voice right now probably does not seem warm and
No, it's
fuzzy.
fine, it's fine.
Well, I just
Frank
wanna be
discussion.
clear.
No, frank discussion.
No,
is fine.
it's not, but that's just not my manner.
No, frank
And
discussion.
so I don't know why we can't put it in something. I get the values thing every day. I go to the laundromat, you talk about the laundromat a lot. There's an orange peel. And I just did a thing with the mental health, and we put it in the mental health and we put it in the values. So that way, people that live in this community had access to it. And free access, right? I don't have to know my neighbors. I would be nice to know my neighbors. But I don't have to know my neighbors to get access or know about it. Because it's in my mailbox, right? Open my mailbox, what is it? I don't know.
Practically speaking, no, there's a problem in who hears what and who gets information how. And we can talk about that or we can pursue it. Practically speaking, to be honest, I don't think there's any way in the world that you could get the city to put things on people's doors about Nextdoor. Because for one thing, you'd be using city money to advertise for a private company. And you know, you just don't do it.
Well, actually, you'd be using city money to encourage the community to become a little bit more collaborative and work with one another. It wouldn't be to, and that wouldn't have to be the only thing.
No.
And that's just an idea. That's not do
Yeah.
it this way. That's an idea. And so I think my point is, one, that not everybody knows next door. No offense. Not everybody knows. And so I'm all for word of mouth. You know, I come from a history of folk, you know, remember the boy bus, I mean, the bus boycott, the boycott of the buses? That was word of mouth, right? People didn't know, we didn't have next door then. So I'm saying that there are ways to connect and communicate with people that still work. And not everybody is on social media.
Right.
And either we care about having the community come together, and we try a variety of approaches, or we don't, and we just go, hey, it's on next door. Hey, you just don't know about it, but everybody else knows about it.
I'll ask Bill if, you know, some city money could be put towards advertising. I'll just know you will never have complete satisfaction. It used to be you put stuff in the paper, and then people said, well, not everybody reads the paper. Okay, we'll start putting it on the website. Well, I don't look at the website. Okay, we'll put it on social media. Now, part of my job is doing social media. What are people saying? Well, it needs to be on Nextdoor, and we need to start being like, you're never going to have a situation where everybody says, I'm totally informed all the time.
Well, and I want to bring up the point, because I'm probably one of the youngest in this room, right? And among millennials and Gen Z, there's a lot of apathy towards government and government business. And so, how do we break through that apathy to get them involved? I'm not sure mailers are the answer. And I wish they were the answer. I really do. But I think it is what Norton said, with word of mouth, with connecting, and bringing them to the table.
Well, all I can tell you is that my students use those coupons. You know, Burger King and Wendy's and all of those guys,
That's a good one.
they put the coupons in the paper.
Yeah.
And the students use them.
Oh, for
And
sure.
they're the young people,
For sure.
right? And so I'm thinking, and I don't know if they read the paper, but those are in the mailboxes. And so they get them. So they see them. And this is, I don't think that that's the way to get everybody.
Right.
But I think you have to, you have to have a wide net. You have to at least have a goal,
Right.
and not just saying where everybody knows it.
Right.
I don't think there's any,
No,
there's no,
I don't disagree with that.
I mean, we know there's challenges with, but he brings up a good point. It's not just that people aren't getting it. If there's nothing to engage them, to get them to come to the meeting, you're not just gonna come to a meeting.
I'm going to suggest we press on, and I think you two have more to say.
Were you done with your comments?
No.
Okay.
You got 10 minutes on that, so.
Yes, we did.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last thing.
Oh, if you're ready to continue, continue
You
your
want to
comments.
just address us, and I have a feeling you weren't through.
Yeah, I do have a hearing impairment, so if I look at you funny, it's because I don't know what to say. Okay? And the echoes in here are terrible. Anyway, so I think that, well, I want to ask if you are aware of the investigative series that ProPublica and the Chicago Tribune have been doing on the ticketing of children in their schools. Okay, so the first of several articles came out in April. And right around that time, the city of DeKalb was talking to District 428 about extra school resource officers, which they did end up hiring 2 with the option of a 3rd, and that makes 5 at this point in 3 of our schools, the high school and the 2 middle schools. Well, the school resource officers are writing tickets to kids inside their schools. So they've taken on a role of discipline there. The tickets are sometimes very costly. Well, there's a whole lot of factors here. One is the administrative hearing system is not really set up for children to be prosecuted for ordinance violations. Two is there's a responsibility of what the school's responsibilities are and whether they're abdicating those responsibilities. Three is that there appears to be a loophole that allows this because the state does not allow schools to fine children. But with the growth of these school resource officers, it's a referral to the police. This kid is fighting, referral to police. This kid has a vape pen. These fines start at $300, and we're talking about a school system here, and this is across Illinois. There's at least 150 school districts that do this. I started using the Freedom of Information Act to find out what's going on in DeKalb. And I don't think that there would be a better use of the HRC's time than to look into this, because the last thing is that ProPublica has been taking as much data as they can find and finding out that there are apparent racial disparities in how the ticketing happens. And for that matter, some of these FOIA requests that I've been doing have also resulted in my finding out that out of, and I'm going to have to go off into the weeds just a little bit, but I took last school year, so from about August 1st, 2021 through May 24th of 2022. And I got some reports, and of course I can't get individual information on the children, so I had to use a process of elimination to find out which citations would go to children. And there were, for that about 10-month period, there were close to 70, which actually makes up about two-thirds of citations that were issued for fighting, battery, and disorderly conduct within that 10-month period. And so then there were like 44 adults that I was able to get their information about who it was and where it happened. And 84% of those tickets written during that time period were written in the Annie Glidden North neighborhoods. 84%. So the Illinois Attorney General at this point is doing investigating on the racial disparities. I can't remember which school districts that they're looking at. I think that, again, we're talking about a great liability on the part of the city if we're going to have, I think it's a few civil rights lawsuits waiting to happen. However, there's a moral question about how these administrative hearings go. If you want to know more about DeKalb's administrative hearings, there are 2 chapters in the DeKalb Municipal Code. Probably one is chapter 17, and that's the administrative hearing process explained. The other is chapter 1, and that has a section on the use of what they call court supervision. Although the administrative hearing process is not exactly a court, it falls short of that. There's not a judge presiding, there's a hearing officer. Anyway, my conclusion is that we need to track eligibility for the so-called court supervision, where you can do community service or get more time to pay your fine. So many different aspects of this. It's a fining, for example, and that's the bulk of the data that I'm looking at. As I said, the fines start at $300, but the max is $750 plus court costs. If you don't pay that $300 up front, when you get cited, you have to show up for the hearing. If you don't show up for the hearing, and mind you, this is not mandatory, but a lot of people do not go. And I'm not sure that they know that if they don't go, they're going to get the max, which is $750. That's the default. $750 fine, $100 administrative or court costs. And then if you can't pay that in 35 days, you go to collections with another 35% tacked on, which comes to $1,147.50. And at least 35% of the children are getting these fines here in DeKalb. So I'm still working with the data. That's why I'm trying to stay as vague as possible. There's a lot of material to go through, but I have started posting at the City Barks blog, and I'm going to continue doing that as I figure out things, and I still have some more FOIA requests to do and stuff like that. But this feels big, and it feels like somebody should be looking at these, the way that these administrative hearings are run.
Thank you very much for bringing that to our attention, and for the research that you're doing. And I don't know about everybody else on this commission, but you confirm my worst fears about school resource officers. I mean, there are about 58 million kids in the school, in the country every day that go to school, that don't have a guidance counselor, that don't have a social worker, but they do have a police officer. And that's not a good way, I don't think, to help children, poor children, alienated kids, sort of become part of the wider world. So thank you for bringing that. That is something that I think we should pay close attention to. And that is something I do want us to bring up in the future, and I very much appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
How far in the future are you thinking?
What's that?
How far in the future?
Next meeting.
I'm sorry?
Next meeting.
Okay. Because I was
I would
thinking,
ask Chief Bird and somebody from the school district to give us some information about that, because if we are really, because as my fear is, and it seems to be, at least there's some evidence here that this is what's happening, if we're going after poor kids, essentially, by giving them fines that they can't pay. That's something we ought to be concerned about.
well, I agree with you. The reason I asked, how far, what do you mean by the future? Because I remember we used to bring the superintendents of the schools
Sure.
to the HRC. And now we have a woman, a Latina woman, and I believe it's the first in DeKalb. And this is the end of Hispanic, Latino, Latinx month. But we could have invited her, and I think that's one of those things, if we're going to meet every other month, we certainly have to begin to arrange our schedule as such. I think COVID certainly interfered with
Yeah.
some things that we do. But I thought that was an excellent practice, and I think that this may be an excellent opportunity.
I do
Although
too.
this is what, October, so that would be December. And that would be, who knows how many tickets and fines, but
Well, my question, because you know I used to be in charge of diversion for youth service bureau, is what is the state of the diversion program under the city? Do we know? Because I know it was a county-wide program, right, for first-time juvenile offenders. However, I know it got the funding at the county level and pushed more towards the police departments to refer. So in the town, I don't know where it's at. I haven't really been in touch with it in a year and a half, right? So I don't know what's being there. If FSA took it over or with the merger of FSA and YMP, or if it's still a DeKalb Police Department. So that'd be my question.
Well, I do think-
Please, Steve.
Well, let's try to find that out. I do think the criminalization of obnoxious behavior, especially when it targets some kids more than others, based on their race, based on their, their ethnicity, the neighborhood they live in, that's unacceptable.
economic. too.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But thanks for bringing that to our attention. Yeah, Mark.
I'll kind of dovetail on what Ms. Fazekas was saying and what this committee was just talking about, the frequency of meetings and the points that she brought across. You're talking about discussing this and how many more tickets are going to be issued by the time the December meeting rolls around. This committee is tasked with meeting 6 times a year at a minimum. You could schedule a meeting in November if this committee chooses to do so. That is an option for you.
Yes, thanks for bringing that to our attention. And I was going to suggest that, as a matter of fact.
Right.
How do the rest of you feel about that?
I
I
feel
see one
great
around, I
about
see
it.
two.
And I'd like to invite the superintendent.
Well, that would be my point. I would try to get a hold of her and see if she could make a meeting next month. And I might ask Chief Burt if he can be here as well.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I heard mention Chief Bird.
the chief is important in this.
Yeah, well, I think the superintendent too, right, because she's the whole school.
Right.
And the chief
No, I
is the
think
whole,
both are.
yeah.
If it's the superintendent, that's great. If it's the person who's in charge of discipline, if it's the assistant, you know what, but somebody who can answer questions.
So
Maybe if I could, I think if we brought more than one person, I think it would be nice to invite the superintendent. She is.
Oh, no, I plan on that. Yeah.
And
Oh, okay. Well, I thought you said if it's her, it's good, but. if
No,
it's not-
what I'm saying is,
another.
if she said, if she said, oh, yeah, I'd love to come talk to y'all, but I can't make it on this night in November. Is there somebody that could make it on that night in November? I think if this is important enough and we're going to schedule enough, I don't want to wait till December.
And
Another,
then could we ask her if she could come in December? She can't come in November.
another person
That's okay.
to think about,
I'm sorry.
another person
What
to
about the
possibly
principal?
invite is juvenile court services for the Cal County.
Okay.
Whoever is in charge of juvenile court services, I don't know who it is.
I might ask you to look into that and make that contact if you would. I'm happy to contact the superintendent. I'm happy to contact Chief Brady.
It might still be Jeff, but I'm not 100% sure.
And I'll just finish on you addressed a lot of the stuff during the discussion as far as the frequency of the meetings. My concern was that this committee, with meeting only 6 times a year, and I perhaps missed the discussion, I think I missed the last meeting, was the rationale for going to half the number of meetings. Was it this commission's idea, or was it maybe the unavailability of the room or resources, or not enough topics to discuss? And you kind of addressed the topics issue, but as we can see what Lynn brought forth, there definitely are topics. And I think it's also important, when you talked about having community sessions, to let the public know what this committee does. Because I'll be honest, if I were to ask my neighbor,
Oh, of course.
they would have no idea what the Human what the HRC does. You know?
That's exactly
And-
what, that's exactly why I'd like
That's
us
what Bill
to,
said,
I'd like to
yeah.
see if we can talk to PTOs
Right.
and we can talk to other neighborhood groups to let them know.
But even if there's like even some listing, I think the website is even rather vague about what this committee does on the city website. So if you had like a bullet point things, or these are some, but not limited to these issues, you know. Obviously, this committee was all the focus during the issues with the police departments, you know, after the George Floyd incident and the violence that happened in town here. You know, there was a lot of discussion. This committee was front and center, but you need to let people know what else this committee takes care of as well. So it's not just that one thing. A lot of people think, oh, when the police cause trouble, we're gonna talk to this
Yeah,
committee.
sure.
There's a lot more that you guys do, so that's all I have.
That'll be one question, is this HRC? I know we talked last month about how there's some overlap now, so
Yeah.
is it an HRC thing? Is it a Citizen Police Review Board topic? So we need to get some clarification on that.
No, you think this is a citizen police?
I don't know.
I don't think.
I don't think it
I don't
is.
think it is. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think this is.
We're not talking, because we're not talking about we're not talking about the behavior of officer so-and-so or officer so-and-so.
Right.
Or the specifics of that. We're talking about the relationship between the police department, the school system, and it's, we're talking about something that's systemic.
Joe,
Yeah.
I got the name of the head of the juvenile court services.
Oh,
for
bless
you.
your heart, thank you.
Jeff, spelled with a Geoff. He's got a great last name, Living Good.
Yeah. So, yeah, okay.
That is a good last.
One G,
good
one
name.
G or two?
I'm sorry.
One G or two for living good?
One G, LivengOod.
E-N.
Ian, yeah.
Okay. All right, and thank you, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
So is there something that we need to do if we want to have a meeting next month?
I would ask for a motion from you folks to schedule a special meeting for November.
I'll move for a special meeting.
Okay, made by JJ, seconded by Nadine.
Hey, Joe, what about the principals of those schools where all the officers are? What about asking them if we can't get a hold of just the super?
That would be, sure. I mean, yeah, I'm not,
Can we make this meeting subject to the availability of the people we want?
I was just going to say that.
yes.
Are we looking at the same HRC meeting date, just in November?
That's what I was thinking,
It's
but
gonna be November.
I was thinking of that, but if they were to say, gee, I can't do that first Tuesday in November, can we do it the second Tuesday?
That's
I'm- What's that?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't want to put this off till December if we don't have to.
I say we have a meeting in November, first Tuesday. Whoever can make it, make it. Whoever can't make it, comes to the December meeting.
Okay,
You don't have to get it all done in one night.
Right.
okay.
I mean, at least we got moving in
I will contact people and ask them to be with us if they can on the 1st of November then.
We need to vote on the motion.
Yes. There's been a motion that's been seconded. Any opposed? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? None? Okay, so we will meet next November with whomever is able to be with us.
And the agenda at that meeting will be to discuss the information that was shared.
To discuss who's being punished how, and, you know, well, are we, well, so we can ask frank questions about, as I say, the criminalization of bad behavior and who that targets, if certain groups of people are customarily targeted and others are
So
just.
nice to tell
don't do it.
Or maybe what their policy is, how it's implemented.
Sure.
Right, this is kind of broad. I don't want to assume that.
No, we're
The answer is a good opportunity. In addition to just adding the SROs, there was language clarifying duties, there was language about a code of conduct. I mean, it wasn't just.
Yeah, I know they have special training and so forth.
So maybe that needs to maybe be a part of it too. I don't know
That's fine.
what that's called.
Well, we have our, it looks like we have our agenda for next month, and probably for December as well. And I'm glad that we do, I'm disappointed for the reason that we do. of course.
Yeah, well, I'm like, Joe, thank you for
Yes.
bringing that to our attention.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I know some people on the school board, I hadn't heard of that, but that's probably not one of those things. Right.
Oh, I do want to point out regarding Nextdoor real quick. Police department is utilizing Nextdoor for posts as well. So I see posts from Commander Woodruff, and they're always up there regarding things, so.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
May I move on to, given the time, may I move on to some quick announcements?
You added two items under F1.
Yes, homelessness in DeKalb, well, those are for future consideration. Did you want to say something? We're not going to take action on those.
No, I know, I just want to put them out there.
Oh, for
So
future.
For future, yes.
Can you at least tell me why? I mean,
That was just
Yeah.
JJ's.
could you,
Yeah, so over the weekend, heard from three different people about the numbers of homelessness rising in DeKalb. And South Haven at full capacity, and these people had no place to go. So future, I'd like to explore maybe some either governmental, maybe agreements between DeKalb and Park District to explore housing, especially for the winter, because we all know the winters are not fun here. And the second consideration I want to bring up is Transnet is charging for door-to-door service for the elderly and disabled people in the county. Transnet did not do that. As we all know, living on disability is not easy. Ain't living the highway, I can tell you that. And money's tight. It's maybe something that we want to look into in the future. I know there are vouchers out there that people can get, but I know that it has to be through a nonprofit. And so it's how do we direct people to get those vouchers if they can't afford service?
Yeah, I mean, when people move into nursing homes and essentially, you know, all the they get to keep $30 of their, personal for a month, that's right. And some of that is eaten up by, getting to and from the doctor on the bus. That's not good.
Right. And somebody the address of that is, I can't remember the new director of the bus system, public transport.
Mike,
Thank you. Yeah.
Mike with a very long last name.
Yes.
That I have not yet learned how to pronounce correctly. Then he has Brian, assistant transit director too.
So maybe have one of them too.
Yeah, they're great
In the
guys.
future.
Yeah.
Well, we have a crowded month coming up. I mean, I think there's a lot going on in the community that I want you to know about, and I think we ought to celebrate. First of all,
So we're moving to F2?
yeah, that's okay.
Well, I just think it's better.
No,
if we
no,
go-
I appreciate it. I'm giving you a hard time.
Okay. Never mind.
I want you to be aware that This Is My Grave performance at the Egyptian Theater on Thursday, October 13th at 7 p.m. Did you want to say something about that, JJ?
So I'm really excited about this. I'm helping produce this year's This Is My Brave. I'm also performing in it as one of the poetry readers. I wrote a poem about being a therapist and what it's like to be a therapist, who work through their struggles. We have 8 other acts that are phenomenal. Stories about looking through their mental illness struggles. It'll be a great night. Our last practice is actually tomorrow, so hopefully we will be ready to go.
Look forward to that. Also want to alert you that 2 days later, at the Kishwaukee Symphony Orchestra is going to be performing works by Florence Price. Florence Price was the first African-American woman to have her works performed by the Chicago Symphony back in the 1930s and 40s. She sort of drifted off into it. She died in the 1950s, and a lot of her work was lost and was rediscovered in a dilapidated summer home somewhere in Illinois. And so KSO has rented the music. They're having a pianist come out from Chicago Symphony to perform a concerto, and they're also doing a symphony of hers. And I hope you can come to that. I've seen on the web, I've heard and I've seen about this on the website, but I cannot find any information about it, and maybe some of you have heard this, but I've heard rumors, at any rate, that on October 20th, there's going to be a performance at the Egyptian Theater of the dramatization of the 1619 Project.
It's not the Egyptian Theater's website.
I've seen it on the Egyptian, but I haven't seen any publicity whatsoever.
We got a flyer at work, and then we got a flyer.
Well, put it on next door. What's the, no, I'm kidding.
I only learned about it
Because I didn't see it.
Yeah, I only learned about it next door.
Okay, yeah. No, but I'd like to know this. And finally, there's a day training, youth mental health first aid training is being put on through the Mental Health Board on Friday, October 21st, from 8:30 to 3:30. There's no fee for that, and it's at the Community Outreach Building. Is there any further business to come before us tonight?
Only 2 things. One, Dre did send an email. He said he tried to do some, I think he said he was trying to get in touch with, he reached out to Coleman, but he was unable to attend today. He had some stuff at the barber shop. And the other thing is NIU is having their homecoming this weekend. So if you all are available to come out and go to the game and celebrate the festivities, feel free.
And we have a new annual event for homecoming at the downtown block party. There's going to be a small march with a marching band and a pep rally. That starts at 5 on Thursday, and if it goes well, hopefully it'll add to our list of annual events here in the city.
No parade this year? No parade?
There's the March of the Huskies.
Okay.
So
Very short distance.
Anything else to come before us?
I move we adjourn.
All right, there's been a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Second? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.